Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Sunday Messages. We are talking about plateaus today. I feel like this conversation is very alive. I'm feeling just collectively that a lot of people are sick of their own shit. They are ready for something different. They want to go faster. They've had dreams and desires that they've been sitting on for quite some time. There's unfulfilled potential that is in the room with us in this conversation. And so I feel like this is just a very active topic, collectively speaking. So we're going to be talking about the two different variations of plateaus that I personally have identified, or it typically falls into one of these plateaus in terms of personal results. And we'll see where today's conversation takes us. I'm always surprised, so we will see. Now, one thing that I do want to let you know, I can't remember if I let my podcast listeners know this, but I added a super extended payment plan for Once Upon a Time. If you've been eyeing that mastermind, I see all of you on my website eyeing my masterminds, okay? So if you have been browsing that, I added an extended payment plan. So go check that out. It's going to be a bitch and mastermind. That is what I can tell you for sure. It is going to wake you up. It is going to invigorate you. It's going to inspire you. It is going to set things in motion for you. And what I'm really finding is, even though we're focusing on character work and identity and inner dialogue and scripting and all of these things, the core of it really has to do with momentum, which is also related to the topic that we're going to be covering today. And it's just a perfect time to be doing this. I find that when we reach this middle point in the year, right, we're heading into August, this is when people can really kind of fall into a slump where maybe you have lost touch with your vision that you originally had this year. Maybe you kind of came into 2023 guns blazing, and now things have really simmered down. And keeping things stimulated and keeping things alive is your job. It is your job to fan the flames of your vision and your desires and staying the course. And so being able to activate things like this is really important in terms of reconnect with your original vision, or perhaps your evolved vision, because I'm sure things have changed. But I really hope all of you know that a lot can change in a very short amount of time. And the thing that makes the biggest difference in your ability to really experience that change in tangible ways has to do with your consistency. So this is highly related to plateaus. But if you are done being complacent, get into Once Upon a Time. I am serious. It is going to shake things up in all of the right ways. And this is also the last mastermind that I'm running in 2023, aside from Apex. We all know I do Apex twice a year. That's the only exception. But in terms of other mastermind containers, this is it for the year. Last call to all of you, unless you're in Apex. So keep that in mind. The link is in the description box. It's in the show notes. You know the deal. Okay, so two different variations of plateaus. This is how I consider them, or how I would categorize them. I'm sure we could break them down into a million different categories, but I think two is sufficient for this conversation. The first plateau is rooted in doubt. So that's when you have the yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. I want it, but I want it, but I want it, but. And you go nowhere, because the amount of tension between doubt and desire is equal. And if the tension between those 2 points emotionally is equal, then you're not going anywhere. You are stuck right there until you tip the scales. You will stay there. Okay, so that's the first type. And I find that most people fall into this category, generally speaking. There's very few people who have been like hungry and pursuing their desires with a lot of energy and a lot of passion and, fall into that category. If you have been chasing your dreams, even though that we could split hairs over that phrase, but if you've been chasing your dreams, you're moving in the direction of your desires, you've been doing that for a while, and you've found that you're just kind of chilling. Don't get me wrong, there's seasons of rest, and there's seasons, we all experience a winter time from time to time. But if you have found that you've got the cruise control on and you're comfy and you can tolerate what's going on and everything is fine and there's not really a reason to complain and nothing bad is really happening, there's not a fire under your ass because nothing major is going on, you're just all right. That's the other type of plateau. And generally, this is more of the complacency plateau, where things aren't bad enough for you to be hungry and you're not tapped into a vision that is big enough to ignite the fire within you. This is the group that I'm always cautious when I find myself in this position and when I'm seeing people who dwell in this position too long, and I do not want to plant any seeds. Okay. So don't take this into your space and say, oh my God, something bad's going to happen. That's not what I mean. Okay. I just want to preface that. What I'm saying is if you dwell there too long, and you're not moving in the direction of a desire, really, you've just been on cruise control for way too long, then you're essentially going to, at some point, ask for a shakeup unconsciously. So at some point when boredom hits, you summon something to you to shake that complacency up. My recommendation is that you get ahead of this curve and you get your focus on something that you want so that the universe doesn't do it for you. Because that's typically what happens for people is like, things are good, everything's fine, I'm not really moving passionately in any direction. And I personally don't like sitting there because I don't want, let's say, okay, let me go a little bit deeper into the logistics and the mechanics of this. You are literally a microcosm of the universe that is always, always, always expanding. So the pain and pleasure spectrum within you is always expanding, right? The shadow and light spectrum is always expanding within you. We talked about this in 7 Deadly Shadows. You are a microcosm of that universe. You have no choice but to expand. It's happening whether you realize it or not. If you are simply aware, if you are consciousness in a physical body and you're aware, you're expanding. So when you deny the expansion, the tension grows and it 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 grows. And so that's where things can become really chaotic because in your complacency, you are still summoning a lot of energy around your desires. When you are bored, you are summoning the energy of excitement. Now, excitement and adventure, those are really fun experiences. Those are really fun frequencies to play with. However, sometimes adventure and excitement doesn't always feel pleasant on the system if you are not in full control of the vision. And so the point is, when you are actively co-creating and you are inviting vision, and when I'm saying vision, I'm not talking about visualization, I'm talking about a vision as in a greater desire. Okay, that vision that you have for yourself is the adventure of your life. That's where the excitement is had. That's where the co-creation and the expansion can really take place. So when you are not creating a container for your own universal expansion, it feels much more turbulent. And so your vision is actually kind of what helps you contain the energy somewhat, or contain is a bit too strong of a word. It's more of like funneling it really deliberately. Because if you wander around for long enough and you say, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what's next. If you stay in that for so long, or you stay in that boredom energy for so long, the tension will grow. So the universe has no choice but to reveal to you something real clear. And usually that clarity feels like a smack in the face, because the tension has grown, which is why you getting ahead of this really serves you. Because the other thing about this is, when your higher self, soul, whatever, when that part of you is calling you to greater things, sometimes it will pull you through contrast, duality, negative experiences, however you like to think about it, in order to illuminate and refine your own desires and your own vision. So that is more of the functionality of contrast, so that, again, you can concentrate the energy. Because that's what we really want to do when you're focusing on a certain level of financial success, or when you're focusing on developing a relationship or getting a house, or like, the normal stuff. When it comes to manifestation, you are funneling that energy in one direction. We like doing that. And when it's too scattered, it can be a little bit ungrounding. Like, there's everything is good in the right dose, right? So it really, that's what it really is about. Sometimes having that liminal space is nice, but when you're sitting in that boredom for too long, when you're sitting in that complacency for too long, and you're kind of just sitting in that stagnant water, then all bets are off for what comes next. Because whether you've realized it or not, the longer the boredom has gone on, or the complacency has gone on, the more you've been summoning the adventure. So that's, just be warned that even though in the end everything will be good, and God is good all the time, and all of that stuff, that is true. That still remains true. It's just that it's not as comfortable of an experience when you are not involved in the process. And so what ends up happening, particularly if you're drawn to my content, and if you like listening to these conversations, you like being an active participant in the energetic game. And so when you have been on autopilot too long, well, how is life going to get you back in the game? How is your soul going to remind you, hey, you like doing this energetic thing. You like having fun with all of this. You like being able to shape things emotionally. You like this process. You like defining things, and you like focusing on things, and you like the conscious unfolding of everything, or the conscious refinement that you're giving to your life, and actively refining your life over and over and over. You like all of that. So your soul has to get your attention somehow. And that's why it's like you either get in the game yourself, or you will summon an experience that kicks you back off the sidelines. Complacency is you sitting on the sidelines. That's all that is. So what has to be done is you have to self-initiate and deliberately reconnect with your vision and stimulate your greater desire, and do it on purpose, and focus on purpose, and think on purpose, and reconnect, so that you can reinvigorate and start consciously funneling that energy. Now, if you don't know, you genuinely are telling me, I feel complacent. I have a good life. I'm not feeling a whole lot of zest. I'm resonating with this conversation and the whole sitting on the sidelines thing. I would ask differently. So if that part resonates for you, and you still are not sure about what you want, and you have no clear vision for what is next or what you do desire, then how I would summon the energy explicitly is I would ask, make my next steps or the next desire clear but gentle. Make it soft clarity. You don't want sharp clarity. That's the thing that complacency can really lead to, or that a plateau can really lead to. And I also want to say, you have that option. So to me, I don't actually think that people can indefinitely sit in complacency, because you're summoning the adventure whether you like it or not. At some point, life is going to kick you back onto the field, whether you like it or not. The universe, your soul, is going to do that for you. So there's no getting around it. A plateau will be broken at some point, no matter what it takes to shake it up and get you back involved in the game. But my recommendation, and how I would prefer to receive clarity, is that it be gentle, that it feel good, that it feel like good, that it feel good, that it feel right, that it feel gentle, that it feel soft but clear. There's no need to summon a big shakeup unless you want it. And people who have been complacent for a really long time, this is reminding me of one of my clients in Apex. We didn't know this. We didn't know this at the time inside the container, but there had been so much complacency for so long. It was sitting and sitting and sitting and sitting and sitting and sitting and sitting, just waiting. And as soon as she got into Apex, the Apex is only 2 months. Okay, it's not a long time. By the end of that process, her life was completely unrecognizable. And it was because of the tension that had been building for so long, that it did not take very much at all for things to completely explode all over the place. And don't get me wrong, like, she was on her way to some really wonderful things by the time the container ended. But it was just shocking to see, like, high contrast situations can sometimes be, they can be numbed or dulled or hidden under complacency. And then all of a sudden, things become unavoidable. And then once again, the adventure summons you. The adventure is summoning you no matter what. You are an expansive, eternal being. You're a microcosm of the universe. You want adventure. You want it. All I'm saying is that you need to get back into actively playing the game so you enjoy it and it doesn't feel so turbulent or boring. You kind of want that sweet spot. When it's too out of control, it feels like turbulence. It feels really rough on the nervous system, right? When it's too chaotic. And when it's too boring, you feel purposeless, you feel lifeless. So it is about that, striking that perfect middle ground where you're holding and maintaining satisfaction while you can also feel yourself moving in the direction of what is most wanted and what your heart is really calling you to. And when you're able to get in that spot, that's where life feels really good. Because it's not deep longing. Sometimes when we have those dramatic shakeups where life is not giving us a choice and the universe is not giving us a choice, it feels... I lost my train of thought. Hold on, I lost my train of thought. Let me back up for a second. I want to get off of this and actually talk about the other variation of plateaus. If my thought returns to me, I will come back to it. I'm like sweating. It's so hot in here right now. Okay, so let's go back to the first type of plateaus because this is where I think most people are. Most people in my orbit. Okay, so if you listen to my podcast, if you're familiar with my work, if you like this type of work, if you like this type of energetic stuff, I find that people usually have a very, very, very big vision, have a lot of desires, do have a clear focal point that they want to move towards. But what's keeping them in a plateau is doubt and negative experiences that went sideways, and the focus being all over the place. And when your focus is all over the place, where the hell is the universe going to meet you? Where are you going to be met? Keep in mind, this is a reflective universe. It's a reflective universe. So if every moment you're entertaining all of these different timelines and all these different possibilities and all these different potentialities, and there's absolutely no cohesion in what you are emitting, in what you're offering, the universe doesn't even have the chance to reflect it back to you fully because you keep moving the goalposts. This is what doubt does. I want it, but yes, no. Yes, no. That's always when you are not solidly behind the yes and you're flip-flopping all the time, waffling. It's like you're not giving the universe the opportunity to actually reflect back to you. The energy is not being given adequate time to solidify because it will. When you hold the pose long enough, the universe will comply and the energy will solidify. It will come together in 3D. It has no choice. Energetics, when people are talking about the law of attraction, it is literally just a solidification of energy. It is enough momentum being built that It solidifies, because law of attraction is what brings things that are similar to what is being emitted. So things that are similar couple up with each other. I talked about, let's see, I've said many things about this. I've done quite a few videos on this. I'm just trying to see where I want to go here. So someone asked me, what do you mean by momentum? I think we talked about this a little bit before. Energetic momentum starts in the form of thought. And over time, it solidifies. Okay, it gets more and more dense. And it starts as thoughts, but then it leads to many other things. It leads to all of these other I don't want to say tangible stuff right away, but it's kind of like you get flashes of it. I know that I gave you the example of like developing a photo, or whatever, like it starts to come through, but it's not in its fullest form. And that's because the energy is showing you that it is solidifying. And so the reason why I'm even bringing this up is because if you are in yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, that's the energy that's solidifying. The uncertainty and unpredictability and the I don't know, and then looking back at your past and using past experiences as evidence for you to be waffling in this moment and entertaining negative outcomes. It's like you want to view this as you are still playing by the same rules, the rules of the universe in terms of specifically the law of attraction. It's still applying to you, and it's giving you exactly what you're offering, and it's cooperating with you. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no is the source of your plateau. If you generated momentum behind the yes, if you got your story, your thought forms, your emotions behind the yes, and they were there dominantly, that new reality would begin to materialize. And you would see many events of the unfolding of that new reality. It wouldn't even take very long. The thing that takes a long time is yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That's the shit that is causing the problem. And that's what's making this take forever. You constantly not making a decision with your energy in terms of, we are fucking doing this. I am getting myself behind this desire. I am getting what I want. This is going to go well. This is going to work out for me. If you cannot hold that consistently, then, or let me say this better, and the more consistently you hold it, the faster it will come, because the momentum will add up faster. It's not hard and it's not complicated. What is lacking in all of this is mental discipline. 100%. I personally see it as a lack of mental discipline in conjunction with numbing too much. Too much scrolling, too much TV, too much external input is gumming up the works, so that your focus and your energetic emission is not concentrated enough behind the desires that you have. Because the thing is, if you could get yourself behind your yes, and you could hold it, and you could be consistent with it and stabilize yourself in it and hold it, 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 shit will start popping like crazy. It absolutely will. I was talking about this on my Instagram story. You may not know this about me. One of the things that has been pretty difficult to deal with for me in this lifetime has been my rejection wounds. Like this assumption that I am not, people aren't interested in me, people don't want me, they don't care about my work. I could have an avalanche of evidence that opposes that. And it's crazy to say because I understand that I've had a lot of success. Okay. Like I'm aware of that, but there were still all of these feelings that would come up in my work. And every time that I would share my work with the world, I felt like I was constantly bracing for rejection. So what did I do? Summoned a bunch of failure. I failed and failed and failed. I failed so many times. I failed so many launches. I like have a huge stack of failures under my belt. Okay. Full transparency, because you cannot walk around Earth saying, don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, and it not hurt you. That's not how it works. So I knew this was a problem. I knew what was going on. I knew what I was doing. Every time I launched something, it felt like I would rather have someone sand all of the skin off of my body instead of dealing with launching because it was so painful. The rejection issues were just so active every time. And so a couple of weeks ago, I decided, I was like, I literally cannot afford to be walking around with all of this. With the tension and the fear of rejection and the ickiness around it, I can't do it. It is negatively affecting me in so many ways that this isn't even, I cannot even give myself permission to continue doing this. And I made the decision that I was going to go all in on practicing something different, all in on getting my energy behind my desires, all in on creating a different energetic blueprint for myself. This is what I'm teaching in Once Upon a Time, by the way. So I went all in on it, and it's like night and day. The experience that I'm having now, it's like, oh, what do you know? This is the most popular launch I've ever had. Unsurprisingly, I've had more applications for this mastermind than I've ever had before. I've had more interest, more buzz, more questions, more. DMs, applications, like there's just so much energy around it. Even like my content feels really different. Everything feels really different. And the only thing that made a difference was me doing the energetic work behind it. Because I had to access my own stability. And it is, like I said, it's the combination of not allowing things to fester, right? You can't just numb it away. You have to stay focused. You have to commit. You have to commit to the energy and the outcome that you want. Every day, all the time, you are paying attention. That's not a joke. I've used this analogy before, and I think this is a perfect place for it. Let's say you have 100 gold coins every day. You have one of those brown rucksacks or whatever they're called, a satchel, a brown satchel, and these shiny gold coins inside. And every time you're thinking about something or you're telling a story, you are paying, you are energetically investing in that future reality and in that experience. Every time you complain about someone, every time you bitch about a situation, every time you talk about this really scary, awful thing that could happen because one time it almost happened, but it didn't, but it could. And so now you're all freaked out about it. Okay. You're paying. with your energy. And that energy is going to go somewhere. So your mental discipline and focus is the most precious currency that you have. And if you're serious about breaking outside a plateau, breaking a plateau, that's what will be the biggest difference. That's what will change things the fastest, is if you go all in. See, for me, in terms of my launches, I did not want to deal with any of my rejection wounds. They were too painful. It was awful. I wanted nothing to do with them. And I kicked the can down the road so long because I was like, I can't stand the sensation of facing this. I want to crawl into a hole and die instead of dealing with this. And so I would go in with all of this tension and all of this fear, not knowing what to do with it. And then I would have bad outcomes because I did that so many times. When really it's like, well, no shit, I had a ton of momentum behind that. And until I got sick of myself enough, then I was able to shift it. So there is something to be said about being tired of your own bullshit. There is something to be said about just realizing that the universe is responding to you, that your plateau is an indication of poor focus on both accounts, whichever camp you may fall into. So in terms of poor focus, like the first category that I went a little bit deeper into, like the complacency category. When I'm talking about poor focus, it's almost like foggy focus. It's not focused potently on anything. And the interesting thing about this is, hold on, this is just coming through for this group. If you fall into this category, the thing is, if you felt like you were on fire for life and every day you were in radical appreciation and excitement about your own life, it wouldn't be a plateau. A plateau is an emotional sensation. And so it's not to say that you need to be aiming at Mount Everest. However, there's more is the mantra of the universe. I'm putting it in quotations. Whoever coined that. More is the mantra of the universe. So there's not really getting around the whole more thing. You're gonna want more. That's the whole point. We cannot escape the more. It's not necessarily tangible. It's not always like, I know that people associate more with like money, but it can be more quality time. It can be more good behavior from strangers on the street. It can be wanting more good things for the environment, for the planet. That is you expanding into more. There's no getting around the more. So when you are focused and you're appreciating and you're in gratitude and you're loving and you're feeling amazing, that's not a plateau, because the universe is going to meet you with all of those things. And that feels fun. That feels like an adventure. Complacency is not quite in the positive end of the spectrum. Complacency is, there's almost this energy of tolerance behind it. And so you being willing to tolerate all rightness That's what creates the plateau, and that's what creates the tension. And your focus is wherever, not really anywhere. So the momentum is slow. The tension might be building. The tension may have been building, but the momentum is what's really bogged down. Okay, I'm going to say two things that are kind of conflicting. The momentum in the direction of a greater vision is bogged down, but the momentum around complacency itself is strong. I guess those aren't really conflicting, just the first way I said it was. So it's about momentum around what? Momentum around yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That's momentum. It's just momentum around something that will take you absolutely nowhere. It's just going to feel more and more painful. So the more yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, the more time goes by, the more tension you experience because you keep expanding and you're not going and you're not keeping up with it and you're not in harmony with it. And what do I say about this? When you do not listen to the call of your soul, it creates suffering. Okay, we've talked about this before. So you don't really have a choice. You don't have much of a choice. So where do you feel like you are? Do you feel like your attention is more so in the camp of not really being anywhere, just kind of okay? I've been okay with how things are. I've been tolerating how things are. Yeah, I want stuff, but whatever. Is it that, or do you feel like you do have strong focus? It's just a jagged experience where you're not concentrating that focus and that energy. You can let me know in the comments below how you're feeling. If this even resonates, not everyone is going to be in a plateau. I personally do not feel like I'm in a plateau right now. I am feeling so focused and my vision is becoming more potent every single day. I just know that this is something that is coming up for a lot of people. So let's see, is there anything else that I want to add here? I think that's it. I think that is it for today in terms of plateaus. You've got the two kinds. And this is an issue of focus. It's an issue of consistency and it's an issue of momentum. And some things that I might journal on or that I might play with when you're listening to this is what is consistent emotionally for you every day? Is it the waffling? Is it the foggy haze, the not really committing to anything or pursuing anything or asking for anything? Is it that? Is it tolerance? Is it doubt and fear? Is it like, I really want this thing, but I'm so scared for all of these reasons. And so you keep constraining your own expansion because there's consistency somewhere. We're creatures of habit. We do things consistently all the time. You just have to pay attention to what have you been doing consistently? What are you thinking and feeling consistently? That's going to be what reveals to you what's really going on. And if you can create a consistent emotional experience up to this point where you have already, then that also means that you can turn the tide, that you can shift things in the direction that you want it to go. That is also available. So get back in the game because it's fun. And I also, just to clarify this one piece about getting in the game is not something that is hard work. Now, it will feel like hard work if you've had a strong fear or strong doubt about yourself, and getting yourself back on track. That's the part that feels like hard work. But when I'm talking about get in the game of life, that part, playing the game and it feeling fun and it feeling like the ride of a lifetime where you're just loving everything and appreciating everything and enjoying everything and loving watching the process unfold, that's not hard work. But the energetic momentum behind your focus is what makes a big difference. Okay? So you can go journal those things, see what you're doing consistently, see what you would like to shift, and that might help you out. Get back in touch with your bigger desires. If this conversation resonated with you, then you will like the Ascent Masterclass that I did in January. If you haven't already listened to that, it is on my YouTube channel. It is free. You can go look back at that material. That was a 3-day masterclass. And one of the things that I brought up in there was, we want to climb mountains. We like pursuing desires and experiencing new things because it summons energy within us. And so that's what that masterclass is all about. If you feel so inclined, if you would like to listen to that, if you're craving more, you can go check that out. And I also want to give my final thoughts because Once Upon a Time starts this week. So I am going to shift into talking about Once Upon a Time for those who have been interested. All right, let's talk Once Upon a Time for those of you who are interested. So it's structured like a very full mastermind in the sense that we have weekly calls, and the calls that we have are going to be longer than normal mastermind calls because I'm teaching in this mastermind, which that's not usual for masterminds. So I'm teaching a lot of tools, a lot of processes, a lot of concepts, a lot of the how-to is what we're going to be doing on the calls. And then we also have full Voxer as well. Voxer is my favorite thing on the face of the planet. In case you do not know, you literally have me in your pocket. So during the day, you can take out your phone and you can message me and I will respond. And it's the coolest thing on the face of the planet. I love, love, love being in Voxer and voice memoing my clients. It's my shit. Okay. So we have that. And the thing is, I am treating this mastermind like an intensive because I decided a while back that I am going to be giving a protocol for this. So because it's only a month long, I wanted to make sure that it packs a punch, that you're going to get results from it, that you know what to do when, and that there's no question about the application. Because one thing that I know is that people can experience confusion around application, and I like eliminating that possibility. That there will be no question about what do I do. In Once Upon a Time, you will know what to do. There will be no question. There will be no confusion. You will know exactly which process you should use when. And if you don't know, you can ask me and I'll help you out. So it is much more formulaic and much more process heavy than other masterminds that I run. So that is the other thing that I think you should know about Once Upon a Time. Now, the pillars, I want to go over the pillars of Once Upon a Time. So first is character work. I did a whole podcast episode all about character work. Character work is so good. It started way back in the days when I've been talking about Jessica for many years, and I refer to my ego as Jessica, and she over time became a character. And then this started to evolve in other areas of my life as well. You may have remembered when I launched Animus. Animus was about characters as well. Okay, so that was more about the character of the shadow self, understanding what to do with it so that it doesn't metaphorically tear up your couch. Because if you shove it in the closet, it's going to start to do damage. So that's kind of how things started to evolve. Then it started to evolve even further into developing characters to access blueprints of things that would otherwise be unavailable to me and inaccessible to me. So there's been a lot of maturation around character work over the years. And so I'm really just going deep with everyone inside Once Upon a Time, and I'm really stoked about it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is refining storytelling. So without going too deep in this, again, I did a whole podcast on that as well. Storytelling is your inner dialogue. You're in a story all the time. Unless you're meditating, you're in a story. And so cleaning this up and making sure that you are connected to the story, you're feeling the sensation of the story that you desire. Have you ever had that experience where you have a negative story and you can literally make yourself cry because you start hurting your own feelings and saying horrible things to yourself? That's a story. And there's not necessarily any legitimacy to the story, but it is a story nonetheless. And so being able to get a grip on your storytelling, not storytelling, and this is the thing that I see for the most people, is telling stories in a way where the words are just hollow. It's like just empty words, like you're just saying it, but you don't really mean it. I will show you exactly how to cut that issue out, where you will not be saying like, I'm a millionaire. That's the example that I always give, because people say that with absolute hollowness, like it's an empty desire. There's no grounded power in that statement. And so when you hear people talk about that, you can tell that there's an energetic disagreement. There's incongruency between those two things. And so I will teach you how to have congruency between the story that you're telling and the emotion. And storytelling is a skill. It's something that is really important to develop so that you understand better how to control the mind and get the mind to submit to you, get your energy to submit to you, steer it in the right direction. Storytelling is very important. And storytelling is also how you develop your self-concept. If you are not good at telling stories, or if you're repeatedly reverting back into negative stories, then the self-concept is not going to change. It's not going to evolve, even though that's the bedrock of what you by default manifest in your life. So in order to shift the baseline, the self-concept needs to shift. And the better you are at storytelling, the faster that can happen. So those are kind of the threads that we have going on. You're going to have a protocol. You're going to know exactly what to do. You are going to feel so much better about the shit that you're saying in your own mind and the things that you're telling yourself. You're going to understand how to get back on the horse quickly and effectively. You're going to learn, and you're going to learn good, how to not take the bait when an old story hits you up and tries to get your attention. You're going to learn how to shift quickly into the state that you want to emit a stable frequency. We're going to be doing all of that for a month. We will be practicing nothing but that. Okay. It's going to be epic. It's going to be amazing. Be there, be there, be there. The other thing I want to let you know is Personally, right now, I think Once Upon a Time is severely underpriced. Straight up. When I started looking through all the material that I'm giving, I'm like, holy shit. It is underpriced for real. And it will not be this price ever again. If I do ever run this, after we go through this round, and again, I never know if I'm going to run something again until I run it the first time. So after this round, I can guarantee you if I run it again, it will not be this price. So just a heads up, get it while it's hot. I added that extended payment plan because I really just want as many people to experience this as possible, because it's going to be so fucking good. It's going to be so like, I wish that I just wish that I could fully communicate in the way that I really want to about this, because it's transcending my language at the moment, because my heart is so full around this and I want to give it badly. I have so many things for you. We're going to have a really good time. I've had the most amazing group apply so far. It's going to be a blast. Like, you will have fun. I've been doing character work for a while, and I could go on and on and on. If you haven't already, go listen to the previous podcast that I did. If you want to learn more about Once Upon a Time, I would go listen to self-concept storytelling and character work. Those are like the three podcasts that go deeper into Once Upon a Time. So you can go check that out. Regardless, it's going to be a banger. Come play. This is a good time to do it. You're going to go blazing through the rest of your year. You're going to have a ton of momentum built. Once you're in Once Upon a Time, it's going to really push you through the end of the year. You're going to know exactly how to stay on top of your shit, how to get back on the horse. You're going to know what to do. And then we're going to catapult ourselves into 2024. Can you believe it? So it's going to be really good. The link is in the description box. The link is in the show notes. The link is in my bio on Instagram, if that is where you prefer to look at all my stuff. And that is a wrap, friends. I am so excited. Again, the doors are going to close August 1st. So if you want it, get it while it's hot. And I will talk to you all later. Have a good one, everybody.